Buddy Banner for the Better Podcast, and welcome to Top 5 Friday. On a Friday, we get together and we have a look at the top 5 something, normally to do with Blood Bowl. Now, Blood Bowl 2025, Blood Bowl Season 3 is here. And we have very nearly finished publishing all the team guides on the channel. In fact, I think the last one maybe goes out Monday or Tuesday. So all those spicy and complex teams are going to be the last ones that get across the finish line. Then next month we're going into full-on starting rosters mode. If you're going to be playing in a league, what do you want to do? What are your options? Anyway, basically, there's a new box set, there's a new game, there's a new rule set. And at this point, we get a lot of new players into Blood Bowl. You may be one of those players going, I would love to play this game. It looks outrageously fun. I check in Monday Night Blood Bowl and it looks nonsense and I'm all for it. What are the best teams to start with this edition? So what we're doing is we are refreshing our list and we are putting together for you the top 5 teams for beginners in Blood Bowl Season 3. All right, coming in at number 5, this one is a full cop-out. So I'm kind of sorry, but I'm not. I'm going to bring the Bretonnian team up on the screen, but some of you may be thinking, really, Bretonnians? Really, really, really? But look, this is the deal here. The spot 5 is genuinely whichever team absolutely calls out to you. Whichever team you really love the look of, you really want to paint, you really love the theme of. One thing we can tell from going through all the team guides, from playing a bunch of Blood Bowl 2025, is that all teams have their charm. All teams have their advantages. All teams have some strengths and some fun bits. So when it comes to playing Blood Bowl, every team got a bit more complex as well. We went back and we had a look at some of the ones that people recommended before, or some of the ones that we recommended before, and kind of, because they've either changed in depth of roster or in complexity, we're not sure they're the right thing to do anymore. I think the acknowledgement here that in Blood Bowl 2025, every team has got some fun bits to it, but every team's also got a little bit more complex. Now, that wasn't a massive issue in Blood Bowl 2020 because the 2 teams in the box set, Black Orcs and Nobility, were way more complicated than they would normally be for beginners. And you know what? I think that just made a better experience because you got to start the game knowing that actually teams are going to have advantages and disadvantages. And I loved that. I thought that worked really well. So if you're getting into Blood Bowl now, or if you're recommending a team to somebody who wants to get into Blood Bowl, if they're a beginner, talk to them about which team they like the look of, they like the feel of, they like the vibe of. I mean, we've got Bretonnians and Tomb Kings in this new edition box set. Now, neither of them are going to be in the top 4 of this list, but if someone was like, I really want to start playing Blood Bowl, I really love the look of Tomb Kings, you know what? Go for it. Explain to them the challenges. Explain to them the fact that, okay, everyone's going to be a little, like, picking up the ball, making dodges, like, it's going to be a bit of a struggle for you, but the advantages are resilience, massive hitters. Like, there's some really upsides. When it comes to Bretonnians, I think Bretonnians are probably going to be one of the most popular teams. It's a new team, one, so all of us that love Blood Bowl are like, ooh, new shiny. And then a whole bunch of people are going to get into it. Let's think about it, right? Let's just straight away go, this is Knights on a sports pitch. That is the strongest pitch, the strongest vibe to somebody coming in. They're like, oh, I want to be the Knights. Like, that Knight looks like he's throwing. He's definitely throwing. This one is the catcher. Okay, cool. And my peasants, they fight things. They're complicated in theory, but even Bretonnians, like, okay, right. My guy's got block, this guy's got wrestle, this guy's got pass, which is good for passing the ball, this guy's got catch, which is good for catching the ball. There's some extra stuff there like Dauntless, but actually, if you get the starter set, you're going to have to deal with that. And I think that's why the top 5, the top 5, number 5, there you go, come on, is the team that they are interested in, the team that you are interested in. Blood Tithe got into it playing Goblins as a first shout. That's a complex team. And because of it, he learned a lot about Blood Bowl and he had a lot of fun. And I think the important thing is go into it knowing that every team's got its good bits, every team's got its bad bits. Some are more complicated than others, which will be it'll be harder for you to get into it. Every team's got its charm in this edition. So whichever one you want to start with is the right one for you. And coming in at number 4, I had a chat with the guys about this one, and Ben and Trips both agreed that actually the number 4 place, which was Chaos, we've gone and upgraded them to Lizardmen in this edition. So, lizards, why are they good for beginners? Right, well, actually, if you don't run the Croxagore, and you absolutely don't have to run the Croxagore, you've really only got 2.5 positionals on this team. You've got the Sauruses, who are strong. They're strength 4. They're going to be blocking with 2 dice most of the time. They're clumsy. They're going to fail at picking up the ball, and they're going to fail at dodges a lot of the time. It's a very easy concept. Then you've got the fast, fragile guys. They're fast, they're agile, they've got dodge, which is really good. Stunty adds a bit of complexity, but it's actually kind of not that difficult in the end. And they've got that fast movement, so it's kind of like, okay, so I've got my chonkers who are still quite fast, to be fair, but they're not very agile, but they're strong. And I've got these guys who are nice and agile, but not strong. And when you kind of overlay that to a new person starting, you've got a really easy to grok prospect that actually, those are the 2 halves of my team. I've also got a chameleon skink who is basically the same as a skink, but a little bit slower, and he's got some cool skills. All right, cool. So I've got my strength 4 chonkers, I've got my strength 2 runners, and I've got a couple of runner pluses. Okay, that's cool. The idea here is that when you're starting with Blood Bowl, a team that's not got a huge amount of different positionals is going to be easier to grasp. And the other advantage here for Lizards is that they are really competitive. So this is a team that you can play with, this is a team you can understand really easily, and it's a team that actually you can learn to win with quite handily and keep on learning. And when it comes to just running the team further, you can also get a Croxagore and try a slightly different version of the team and have that. So you can kind of go, right, here are my Lizards. Yes, I don't have any core skills, but the roles are really clear of my players. I play to the roles, they reward me for that. And then later on I can add a Crocs, and you're actually learning a team that in this edition and in previous editions are highly competitive. You're learning to play with a team that you can absolutely win with. So you get a couple of tester games in, you go to your first league, you may not win it, you're probably not going to win it, but you will win some games and you'll be able to pull off some shenanigans, and you will start to understand, oh, okay, cool, I need to not do that, and I do need to do that, and I can take that every now and again, and it kind of builds that up. And I think the final point is here, which you can't sort of skip, is that from a beginner point of view, actually, 1 box is pretty decent for Lizards, right? Yeah, the Croxagore would be nice, but actually you get all your Sauruses, you get 6 skinks, you've got enough to play with, and actually, that's the point. You can pick up this box. It's cool, the models are good, the players are good. Now the Sauruses have got Juggernaut, they're a little bit more reliable, and it's actually quite a good way to teach what blitzing does and how Juggernaut kind of works. Every team in this edition is more complex, but I think Lizards are easy to understand and they reward you for doing what they are supposed to do. And that's why we had Chaos in this spot. That's why we had Black Orcs kind of in this spot. But I think of those, Lizards are going to reward you the best because they're the easiest to win with. And if you're starting out, I think, you know, being able to play, being able to compete is actually quite an important factor. Number 3, it's Undead. So, quite frankly, Undead in this edition, they got better if you're starting out with them. Okay, in the old edition, you had that thing of, okay, I've got more ghouls, so I need to pick up a second box and have some more ghouls. Overall, yeah, obviously that's not brilliant for Undead. What it does mean is if you're starting out and you're picking up a box of these guys, you've got a bit of everything. And I think they're actually really effective at getting into Blood Bowl, right? It's resilient as heck. You've got dodge, you've got block, you've got strength 5, you've got mighty blow, you've got bad agility, you've got good agility. It kind of factors in all of the elements of Blood Bowl, and especially in this edition, your ghouls having regen means that actually your team's not going to get obliterated straight, well, at least your ghouls aren't going to get obliterated straight off the bat. And furthermore to that, you've got the skeletons and the ghouls and the wights who are actually able to use Secure the Ball, which is a new part of the rules and is a fundamental thing that I think you need to understand. Even if you never use it, it's good for you to know that it is there. So Undead are again another team that's really competitive. There's no nega traits here. The only nega trait is Ange 4 plus, right, on your zombies and your skeletons. Your skeletons can get around that with Secure the Ball. Your big guys are slow, your linemen are slow, and that's definitely a factor here. But quite frankly, there's a lot of players in this game that are not good strength, but low movement. And I think it's a really fundamental thing of Blood Bowl is to learn how to put players together. So with undead, you've got ghouls who can run off and do stuff. You've got wights who can run off and do stuff. You've got mummies who can murder things. And you've got a whole bunch of linemen that you're going to have to learn to work with. You cannot take the dodges with them all the time. So you kind of have to learn how to work as a team. When it comes to positioning, a beginner may get themselves in a bit of trouble with this. You've got those ghouls, you've got those wights with a bit of movement so that actually you can still compete. But I don't think it's a bad experience for a beginner to position themselves into a loss because they can learn from it. What sucks from a beginner point of view is not getting to play the game at all. So taking a team that just evaporates absolutely sucks. Taking a team that just doesn't have the skills to compete in the game, that really isn't great either. That is not the case with Undead. Undead, yeah, may not be the fastest team there, but you've got that movement 7 attribute plus dodge. You've got some good movement 6 block. You've got regen everywhere, so your players are going to keep playing. And you've got those mummies who are, without a shadow of a doubt, the most OP big guy in the game. So again, you've got a team here where you're a new player. If you're getting into Blood Bowl, you're going to get to learn Blood Bowl. You're going to get to learn positioning. You're going to get to learn how good strength is. And you're not going to get absolutely murdered off the pitch, which means you're going to be participating in the game. So for me, number 3 is Undead still. Okay, number 2. This is going to be interesting. Now, we had a really good chat about this in the Bonehead chat. And even though they lost 2 of their blitzers, and arguably the team did get worse, I still think the human team is a really great place to begin learning the game. There's not a huge amount of complexity when it comes to the players, and in this edition, the biggest change they got, right, was the lack of positionals. That's going to benefit a new player. And their main upgrade was a strength upgrade, which is just a core part of the game. So their catchers are now just like much better. So when it comes to humans, you've got, there's a reason the humans tend to be in every starter box, right? This team in particular, you've got a couple of guys with block. You've got a couple of guys with sure hands. You've got a couple of guys with dodge. You've got a couple of guys with pass. You've got a couple of guys with catch. And you've got a bunch of linemen that don't have any of those. The interesting thing here is that they now also have a couple of guys with tackle. And actually, you can use your human roster as an example of like, yeah, tackle's really good. So you know your catchers have dodge. Tackle switches that off. Like, it's a good internal way of training and explaining some of the concepts of the game. Now, people who are getting into Blood Bowl, obviously the best way to do it is probably just to play some Blood Bowl 3. Nice and easy, that's fleshed out quite nicely. The difference is those teams are now going to be quite different to the teams that we've got in actual Blood Bowl 2025. So even though the core rules haven't really changed, the teams have massively changed. Humans, very different now. But to a new beginner, that doesn't matter. What they're going to get is a team with cool, good linemen, couple of great blitzers, movement 7 block and tackle, which is quite an interesting thing. Couple of good throwers, passing 3+ with a reroll. Okay, they've got sure hands, so I get a reroll to pick up the ball and I get a reroll to pass the ball away. Okay, cool. I get what he's trying to do. I've got a couple of catches. They're really fast. Okay, cool. They've got catch. They're there to catch the ball. And they've got dodge, which means actually they get a reroll to move away. It covers the core skills of the game in a team that has not a huge amount of complexity. It's very relatable, and I think that is potentially why humans work out so well as a starter team. And even though they've lost those blitzers, it might even be better for a beginner because they don't have, like, they don't get the accidental, oh, I bought 1 box and now my team's like a little bit below powered because I didn't buy a 2nd box because I didn't know I need to. In that regard, as a beginner team, I think humans actually got better for beginners. So, number 2, humans. Which brings around the number 1 team. And I'm going to use this point to reiterate that every team has its charm in this edition. Every team got a little bit more complicated in this edition, really. But there's a couple of teams that really stand out. And I think you'll not be surprised to find out that we think if you've got somebody trying to get into Blood Bowl, obviously any of the top 5's right, orcs are going to be the number 1 spot for getting into it. Everything we just said about humans is basically true of orcs. You've got a bit of sure hands, you've got a bit of block, but the benefit here is that orcs just, like, the roster got much better. Now, the roster got much better. That's not entirely fair. Some of the players here got better. And there's a lot of rules here. So actually orcs are way more complicated, but they've got that resilience. They're, I think, really well placed. You pick up a box. I've got 2 big guys, so I can still learn how big guys work. I'm not massively penalized when it comes to movement. I'm not massively penalized when it comes to a negatrait. I've got a couple of blitzers who have got block. They've also got an advanced skill in break tackle that will come up every now and again. Absolutely not the most. I don't need to know about it, but it's there as a second layer. I've still got sure hands, I've still got pass, and I've still got armor 4000 on my lineman. So not only are you going to get to play repeatedly, your orcs are not often going to die, but even your standard orc lineman gets to secure the ball. I've still got movement 5 and edge 3+. You've got players here that can do things, and even though orcs, the models are old, the team got changed, you're going to miss all that meat. But again, having just 1 box means a person who likes orcs can get it. And I didn't mention this for humans, but it's the same as what we talked about for the Lizardman team. Humans and orcs, you've got that expandability factor. I can add a troll down the line and make it more complicated, make it stronger, but add some downside. I can add some goblins and have some absolute shenanigans as you can kind of advance within that team. Not only that, so you've got a reasonably simple team, a good team. You've got a team that can expand, you've got a team that's resilient, and then you've got a team that I think, on a one-to-one basis, is very competitive. The blitzers are better than they were before. There's less of them, but they're better. The strength 4 lads have got a ton of interesting skills, which again are going to help a beginner get into it. They're going to go, right, what does this mean? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's fine. That's simple. Okay, what does unsteady mean? Okay, I can't secure the ball with him. All right, that's fine. What does mighty blow mean? It means good times. There's some complicated skills there, but the actual stats, the actual basics of this team are still really, really, really solid. So we think orcs, number 1. But, and I cannot stress this enough, every team in Blood Bowl is a great team if you're invested in it. There are some teams that will be harder to play with to begin with and may just melt your mind a bit. Snotlings, simple enough, but there's a lot of them. Goblins, everybody's unique. OWA, everybody's unique. There's some teams there that are going to hurt you from a playstyle, and there are teams there that are going to be challenging because there's so much going on. Orcs, in the box, you got what? 1, 2, 3 positionals and a bunch of linemen. Same for humans. The less different types of players, the kind of easier it is to onboard. But I think all these teams have got a lot of range in them. You can learn to play with them, and you can learn to be competitive with them, which I think is a really benefit here. There's a lot of games where you get a starter army and you can learn the rules, but then that's it. Like, they're trash. You want them gone. You're just not interested. All of these teams, there's a lot of upside. The more you reward that investment. I'm going to learn how to play the game using orcs, and I'm going to get better at running orcs. I'm going to get better at running lizards, and that's going to reward me because actually I'm going to be able to compete. And that's such an important part of playing Blood Bowl. You kind of learn what's going to help you win, what the right thing is. And I just think that these teams are really solid. But quite frankly, there are hardly any teams I really wouldn't recommend to a beginner now. There are definitely some, and we'll probably pick that up next week. But man, every team is exciting in this edition. So if you've got a friend, or if you're trying to get into Blood Bowl and you're like, I love the look of those, get them. The most important thing is that we help other people getting into Blood Bowl and say, yeah, you can do that, but here's what you're going to have to know. And I think that's the most important thing here is it's not necessarily the team. It's about the interest getting into Blood Bowl, and it's about having a great community to help. So if you're watching this video and you go, I don't know about that, you are the person that needs to help these other people to get into the game. And if you're watching this video as a brand new player into Blood Bowl, hang out with us. We talk Blood Bowl all the time. Come and join our Discord because you will find a couple of thousand people who love Blood Bowl as much as we do. And it's a great place to be. Anyway, let me know in the comments what teams you also think are really good, or if there's any on this list you're like, dude, don't do that. I'd be surprised, but I'm always happy to listen. So thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking.